Thank you, Eliseo, very much for your wonderful remarks. You are you're the embodiment, as is Phil Thompson and I know other people in this room, of the kind of work that's gone on before what we're doing today. So more than 25 years ago, Bernard Lown wrote, "Caring has been supplanted by managing. Healing has been supplanted by treating, and the lost art of listening is taken over by technological procedures." More recent commentators have pointed a finger, in JAMA, no less, the Journal of the American Medical Association, at healthcare's harsh commercial atmosphere, which talks too much about productivity and throughput, and too little about avoiding harm and suffering. We've come together here today because healthcare is ailing. We know these problems and myriad others all too well. How many of you are under pressure to be more productive? We know that overuse hurts patients and it hurts families. Just ask Kim Witzik, who lost her husband Woody. We know that people are dying because they do not have adequate access to care that they do need. Real people, like a little boy named Diamante Driver, who died in his mother's arms in a Washington, D.C. hospital from a brain infection because his mother could not find a dentist who would take Medicare to pull his rotten teeth. We see this fractured landscape of a commercialized, and dare I even say, corrupt system. And we have come here together to say enough. Now, I know that C word is unpleasant, but what else do you call a system in which Congress has permitted the drug and device industries to hijack medical science, as John Ioannidis put it? What other word is there for a system where the CEO of a hospital in a certain borough in New York, not the one that was talked about, is paid $6 million a year, while 40% of the families in his hospital service area live in poverty? 46% of those families fear homelessness. And that CEO is pissed off because the CEO of a hospital 14 miles away in an affluent community is making $11 million. We've come together today because we view this system through clear eyes, and we have dared to dream of something better because we see the corruption and the misery and the heartbreak, but we also see the potential for what Phil Thompson called the human spirit. And we know that despite the war on that spirit, despite its conspicuous absence in so many, too many moments in our day-to-day lives, we know it's still there in medicine. We know it's still there in nursing. We know it's still there in communities, and yes, maybe even a shred of it is still there in Congress. But we have come here together today to heal that spirit so that we can harness it, so that we can get back to doing what we came here to do, to heal when we can and to always ease suffering. Look around this room. Did you ever imagine you'd find so many people who see what you see? That feels good, doesn't it? Many of you have said to me, you found your people. Being in this room feels good because we have stayed so silent and felt so alone for so long. But now, as we prepare to close this day, we face a choice. We can leave this room and we can allow the energy and feeling of power to dissipate. We can go home to our families and our jobs. We can put our heads down. We can do our jobs and do our best within the confines of a broken system. It would be easy to make that choice because the alternative to being silent is a little bit scary. But staying silent is not an option. You all want to know what to do next. What we must do next is speak. We must find others who see the world as we do, who share our conviction that the system as it is cannot stand. The biggest challenge we face is complacency, the complacency born of the invisibility of the problem. Our job is to make the invisible visible, to expose the dark matter of medicine, not just in the pages of medical journals and not just in our clinics and hospitals, but on the wider canvas that portrays the values of our nation. Our job when we leave this room is to turn the conversations we have had over the last 2 days into a national public conversation. Now, why do I think that's even possible? Because I hear the national conversations that we're already having. 10 years ago, inequality was not a topic of public discourse. Today, we cannot stop talking about the 1% and the 99. And we are seeing this national conversation translate into political power. And by this, I mean political with a small p, the power of fed-up people who are ready to rally around the need to right the wrongs of the new Gilded Age. And 10 years ago, nobody but a handful of atmospheric physicists and chemists were talking about climate change. Today, the 10-year-olds in the primary school down the road from my house know what climate change means. These conversations are redefining who we are as a nation, and we should not miss the opportunity to insert the deep meaning of healthcare into that conversation. We need Americans talking about what has gone wrong in healthcare, surely. We need them talking in coffee shops and bars, in living rooms and college campuses. We need them to see also and share the dream of a better, more caring, and more just system. We need them to dare to believe that such a system is possible. We need them to do what runners did after Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile. They saw it could be broken and they ran after him. So all such national conversations start with a million small ones. Thus, my charge to you is this: commit to talking to 3 people a week between now and the next conference. Just 3 people. Find people you think might share your views. They can be family members, friends, colleagues, a patient, your doctor, your nurse. I don't care what you talk about. Talk about drug prices, talk about overuse, tell a story of a patient who moved you. The topic matters less than the opening of an honest conversation. Now that might sound like emptying the ocean with a spoon, 3 people every week, because we're up against a $3 trillion ocean that refills magically every time a spoonful is removed. And I'm telling you to have one-on-one conversations. But think of this. At the top number, there were more than 270 people in this room. At 3 conversations a week, a year from now, that's 42,220 people, assuming my iPhone has a good adding machine. And if just one of those people, in turn, commits to talking to 3 people a week, that's more than 2 million conversations. It adds up. Change at the scale that we need and desire will only result when the conversation about these critical issues that we've discussed in here transcend the walls of this conference. They move outward from the borders of the medical journals and the research papers, and they become the issue of conversation among ordinary people. So your task between now and when we meet again is to resist the urge to cynicism and silence, to take advantage of every opportunity to introduce these issues into conversations with your friends, your family, people on the street, anybody you can buttonhole. Our job will be to provide you with the tools that will make this easier, a more concise framework for speaking about the problem, and an outlet for action that allows you and those you speak to take your frustrations and turn them into action. If you walk away from here energized and you let the energy slowly die, you will cheat yourself and all of the rest of us. Instead, make that pledge to talk to 3 people a week. Post it on Facebook, put it on Twitter, and have faith. Faith that your individual small actions in the aggregate will, in the end, have big impacts. And if you will make that commitment, we at the Lown Institute and the members of the Right Care Alliance will commit to crafting the tools to move us from the language of incrementalism to the language of sanity. So why do I think this is possible? Because 1 year ago, the Right Care Alliance was just a dream. Today, there are 14 councils of the Alliance, and this afternoon they will ratify their vision and mission. By year's end, the Alliance will have launched the first of many campaigns intended to bring Americans to their senses about how radically the system must change to truly serve the public good. And I don't mean to imply that this path that we're on will be easy or short. Anybody who thinks that, I'm sure there's an atypical antipsychotic out there for you. Just ask your doctor. Seriously. We have this idea that movements start with a bang, with Rosa Parks sitting in the front of the bus, with the Stonewall riots, with Gandhi's March to the Sea. But the reality is, movements begin to burn with the slow kindling of people talking to each other. You heard from Phil Thompson. You heard from Eliseo Medina. The path to every dream begins with very small steps. The path begins with each of us as individuals committing to walk on that path together. Along with people, movements need campaigns. And last year, we launched Right Care Action Week. Nearly 1,000 people from around the country participated, mostly doctors and nurses. We're going to get more this year, but they did a variety of activities. But this year in October, the impact of Right Care Action Week is going to be much, much bigger. It's going to be focused on fewer activities, and we are going to get more people involved. And Right Care Action Week is only the start. Let me be clear. We will pick fights, and we will win. There will be many campaigns. There will be many campaigns on the path to achieving the visionary system that now lives only in our dreams. We will educate our communities. We will get attention from the media. We will go before hearings before Congress, and we will make the invisible visible. Now, the hardest part about any movement, I think, is faith. Faith that when we go back to our hospitals and our dinner tables and our coffee shops with our message, that we will find people who respond, that we won't be alone. Faith that our colleagues are out there, our colleagues in this room are out there doing the same thing. Faith that the small actions that we take will eventually add up to burning recognition that something is very, very wrong. Faith that recognition will open the door to conversations that now seem so hard and almost impossible. The hardest part of any movement is faith, but it is also the most important. So I want to take a moment now to introduce you to some of the other people who will be out there with you in the coming days. They're not going to be talking or speak, or I'm not going to introduce them by name, but I want you to see them. These are the people that I have faith in. I'm going to ask each of the councils to stand as it's called. Please stand with together with your council. Children's health, advanced illness, nursing, health education, orthopedics, science and evidence, primary care, radiology, women's health, cardiology, emergency medicine, behavioral health, and community engagement. And I'd like now all the people who want to attend this afternoon and participate in one of these councils to stand. Well, look at that. Thank you. These are the people I have faith in. They're out there, and there are many, many, many more of them, and we just have to find them. I'm incredibly excited to think about what we're going to do and what we're going to carry from this meeting into the coming year. So many of you have said over the last 2 years that it's time for a movement, it's time for a fight. Well, it's time to move that sentiment beyond these walls, to move beyond examining the problem and preaching to the choir, and we now need to take our message to new audiences in new places. I'm here to tell you that we hear you. So you're going to hear a lot more in the coming weeks and months from the Right Care Alliance about how exactly we plan to do that, but now think about how we are going to take back healthcare. Thank you.